Alright, welcome back for another little bit shorter video of 3D2. This is the basics of 3D in AutoCAD, okay? If you didn't see the video right before this, you're going to want to watch that first because that gives you the very, very basics of 3D in AutoCAD. We are now moving on to our second block. This is called 3D2, original, right? So, what we need to do, you guys are looking in your orange notebooks and you see exactly what I have in front of you. This is a 6-inch model. It's 1 3/4 inches tall, and the depth is 2 1/4. This is the front view of the model, and this is the top view. So as I'm looking down, I'm seeing this. As I'm looking from the front, I'm seeing this. On the back of that, if you flip that page, you will see the actual 3D model. So that helps because you want to know what it's going to look like before you're done. So here we go. The one that has the most detail in it is obviously going to be the front view because it's got this circle, it's got a fillet, it's got this all this other stuff. As you're drawing this, you're going to be drawing just like you're doing 2D stuff. There's no difference. There's no title block or anything, but you are going to draw just this shape exactly the way I have it here, you know, minus the center marks, minus any of these dimensions, and so on. What you're going to draw is going to be basically that, okay? So I'll draw that over here. Using my line tool or polyline, it's up to you, although in this case polyline you would have to explode because you'll see why in a second. This is going to go 1.75, it's going to go 6, it's going to go 0.5. I should double check some of these numbers, hang on. 0.5. Now there is no dimension to say how far this goes in, even if I look up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head back to this corner over here after I did that 0.5, and I'm going to go 0.5. You can see the diameter of this circle is 2.5, so I can't quite do that yet, but I can go 0.5, 2.5, 0.5, and come down. And wherever this line comes in and that one comes down, and where they meet is going to be that corner, and that's going to be a fillet radius 1/4. Okay, so going back to my drawing, I'm going to jump back in here, and I'm going to draw this line anywhere for right now. I'm going to cut it off later. Then this one, the reason why I'm going to not do this all in one shot is very simple, and I'll show you in a second. If I do 0.5, and then I go 2.5, and then I go 0.5 again, and then I go down. Now I can trim this. I can actually just take this line completely out. I can go to a tool called 2-point circle, where I can click 1, 2, and I can trim top of the circle. Last thing is fillet radius 1/4. Now I already made a mistake here. Anybody know what it was? I did not change this to front, but I drew the front, which is what you're going to do very often. You're going to look at it and say, crap, I didn't draw it on the right side. Here's what you do. You select your stuff, you do Control C, which is copy, and you hit delete. You then change this to front. Control V is paste. Put that on there. Now it's on the front. Don't change this at any point in that process. That's just to see it from a different side. We want to draw on different sides, so we're still changing this right here. It's still going to stay on 2D wireframe. Anytime you're building something, you're on 2D wireframe. If you want to check something, then you can switch to these other ones. But right now there's nothing to check, so we're not going to change that. I have to go back to the default view, so I'm going to go back to top. Now I'm looking down at it, and just to show you how I'm looking down at it, I'll use this orbit tool again to show you that we're looking down from the top, and that's why it looks like one line, but there's obviously everything that we drew so far. Okay, so if you orbit, you got to reset your view, go back to the top. All right, now you want to change your actual view that you're looking at it for. Go to the bottom right corner. This is the default 3D view, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my 3D tools. Now I'm ready to do 3D stuff, so go down to the gear, go to 3D basics, select extrude because that's what's going to give it its depth that it needs. Oh, skipped another step, sorry. These are the reason why I did lines in the beginning and not polylines is because if I did a polyline here, here, and then there, that would have become one line and one shape, and I wouldn't be able to do my 2-point and delete that line out of there, okay? Just like I said in the first video, you wouldn't be able to do offsets or anything like that when you need to. So most of the time polyline doesn't really work. It's usually lines that work, okay? Now, how do we put it together? We select everything and we type join, okay? So everything is together. I'm looking at my numbers at the bottom, and it says, if I can see it, 9 objects converted to 1 polyline. Okay, got to get my camera back in the right spot now. Okay, 9 objects converted to one polyline. Well, how many were you supposed to have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that is correct, and it's gone to one polyline, which is good. Don't have more than one line here. Don't have like 1, 2, 3. It won't work, and you'll have too many lines when you go to join stuff. Okay? Now, extrude. Click what you want to extrude and hit enter, and click how far you want to go. If I want to go back, it's negative. If I want to go forward, it's positive. So negative, if I want, it doesn't matter in this one either. I think it was 2.5, but I'm going to double check that before I go any further. 2.25, sorry. Undo. Control Z is undo. Extrude 2.25. Okay, so now we've got this. Now obviously we're not done yet, because on the 3D model you can see it's got a rounded end and it's got this void that's cut out of the middle. This part of it's done, but this stuff is not. So the first thing you're going to do, you guys know the tool called fillet, but fillet, like we normally type it and then we do radius, that's actually for 2D stuff. Fillet edge, all one word, is for 3D fillets. So you hit that. You still have to hit radius at the bottom. We're going to go back to this drawing for a second and see what that radius should be. Radius 1 1/8 for this big circle out here. 1 1/8. And then instead of clicking 2 lines, I got to go back into that, sorry. Fillet edge, radius 1 1/8. Instead of clicking 2 lines, you're going to click the edge that you want to round, which is going to be this little line. 1 there, 1 here, and then you have to hit enter twice, okay? Once only shows you what it's going to look like. Twice actually keeps it, all right? So we've got the end rounded. Now, there are times when you will have to use other 2D tools again, like a line, in order to get some other pieces in this object. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the line tool here, and I'm going to put a line right here on top of that surface. If I orbit, you'll see that that line is perfectly on top of the side that I'm looking at. I also could go to conceptual again and just show you that, yes, this is a 3D model. We've done it correctly so far. Don't worry about the fact that the grid is actually, it's like part under. If that bothers you, you could move it up a little bit. It doesn't really matter. But anywhere in the black space is a free area to draw, so it won't matter. Okay. So going back to 2D wireframe, we have our first line. That line is the same as this line right here. 5/8 over from that towards the back big circle here is going to be our other line, and then there's going to be 2 circles at those midpoints. They're going to get trimmed, and they're going to get connected on the sides, and then we're going to do our next step. Okay, so going from here, I need to go back to the top, and I'm looking at this line right here. I'm going to do an offset, 5/8. Make that go to the left. It will stay on that top plane because I drew the first line on the top plane. Most times you want to be in a 2D view when you're doing these offsets like this, because you don't want it to offset into 3D space. You want it to just stay 2D on top of that object. But for the most part, if that was in 3D, that probably would have worked just as well. Okay. So going back to the top to reset the view, and then going back to the bottom right corner, you'll see that we have our 2 lines here. At those midpoints, so I'm going to go back to the top again. I'm changing back and forth to show you guys what I'm talking about. At those midpoints, you're going to put 2 circles. They're going to be radius circles, and they're, here, hang on, let me check my size again. They're going to be radius 3/8. So, circle at the midpoint, 3/8. And then another circle over here, radius 3/8. Trim those circles. This is just regular 2D stuff right now. You're trimming the circles. I no longer need these. These were the boundaries in order to trim stuff. I did quick trims there. And then I connect them with 2 lines. Okay, so now I have my shape. But again, go back to the top, bottom right corner. It's only on the top. It's not cut out yet. So what we have to do is we have to make this its own little profile, just like we did with the front of this shape. We're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4 and type join. And we're going to look at the bottom, and we're going to make sure it says 4 objects converted to one polyline, which it did. So this is good. How far down is this going to go in order for me to cut this out? It's going to be the height of this ledge right here, which is a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to do extrude. This is where positive and negative is going to matter. If I did 1/2, it's going to go up 1/2, and you'll see on conceptual that's not what I want. I want a negative number there. So I'll do extrude negative 1/2, and it will go down 1/2. Now that's still not done, because that's 2 solids within each other. There's a solid here and there's a solid here. Okay, there is a tool, go back to 2D wireframe, called subtract. I want to subtract one of them from the other one. And if you keep your tool on there long enough, you should see a little picture of a subtraction happening where the green one is getting subtracted from the gray one, and then you get the little red one on the right side. Obviously the color wouldn't change, but they're just trying to show you a little visual. Okay, so here's how the clicking works. You have to click which one you want to subtract something from. Oh, I don't have my screen share on. Are you kidding me? Hold on. It's got to be on. Oh, it's on. You guys were about to see me curse. Whoo! I was going to say darn. All right, here we go. Subtract. What do you want to subtract from would be the big model, and then hit enter. And then what do you want to subtract? The small model, and hit enter. Now in wireframe view, you're not going to see a difference, but if you go to conceptual again, you'll see that that piece was cut out. So now what do? We go to hidden, because that's what we print on. We go back to the top view. We hit the bottom right corner. And then we go and put our line weights on there. So we got to change our toolbar back. Go to the gear, drafting and annotation. Select the object. Go to your line weights, 0.7s. You guys know all this. How to do your text again. Click down next to the model. We're going to do 1/4 inch text height, 0 for text rotation. Make sure your caps is on. Your name here, period 1, or whatever. And then click off and hit escape. That looks pretty centered. I'll go over the printing one more time, but I will not do it past this drawing. Print, plot. Don't worry about this. This is going to be 5225. This is going to be center of the plot, and this is going to be window for these 3D models. There is no title block version. It's just this that you have to hand in. Window brings you back to the drawing, so you're going to click your own window. 1 click, 2 clicks, and then hit OK. And then the model's done. All right. So you can see we're already getting a little bit more advanced with our 3D models, because the first one was just a profile and extruded, and it was done. This one was a profile, extruded, then we did a fillet edge to round the corners. Then we actually drew another profile on top of one of those ledges. We joined them together, we extruded it down into the other model, and then we subtracted it away. All right, so it gets a little bit more complicated as we go on. All right, that's pretty much it. Anybody have any questions? Doesn't seem like it. All right, so that's it. That's number 2. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.